Well, I certainly respect the vice president, but this is an example of why years in Washington is not always the same thing as judgment. He supported the worst foreign policy decision made by the United States in my lifetime, which was the decision to invade Iraq.
That's Mayor Pete Buttigieg slamming former Vice President Joe Biden for his vote to authorize the Iraq War. That comment came during an interview with Iowa Public Television. Buttigieg criticized Biden for the October 2002 vote when Biden represented Delaware in the Senate.
Anybody is qualified to run if they meet the basic constitutional threshold, and then the voters get to decide. And part of what they're going to decide on is based on our judgment. Experience, sure, but also judgment. And I think that it's certainly a question that reflects on foreign policy judgment at a time like this that is so precarious for the future of the U.S.
Democratic presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren's campaign has seen a significant drop in fundraising this quarter. In an email sent out to her supporters on Friday, Warren said so far her campaign has raised over $17 million in the fourth quarter. That's a 30% drop from the previous quarter, which brought in $24.6 million. The numbers come after Warren's momentum has slowed in recent months. And former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg is spending millions of dollars each week in online ads in battleground states attacking President Trump. The New York Times reports that the ads are focused on 7 battleground states, such as Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, where polls show Trump is likely to be competitive in November. Over the last month on Facebook and Google, Bloomberg spent $18 million on ads attacking the president, according to a digital messaging firm that works with Democrats. The former mayor is expected to spend between $300 to $400 million on advertising across all media before the Super Tuesday primaries in March. That price tag would be almost equal to what President Obama's campaign spent on advertising over the course of the entire 2020 general election. And Jeremy, you have some reporting on Mayor Bloomberg and his huge spending. What did you learn about Mayor Bloomberg's strategy for the Democratic primary?
So what they're trying to do here is what 16 Republicans and Hillary Clinton failed to do in 2016, and that's find a way to attack President Trump in ads that is effective with voters. And as some of you might recall, there was a big debate in Democratic circles and within the Clinton campaign in 2016 about how do you do that? How do you tell people something new about President Trump that is negative, that sticks? And it was a debate over, do you go after his character or do you go after other things about his policies that he supports? And they found that what the Bloomberg campaign is finding, that the character attacks don't work. People know who Donald Trump is. They've made a judgment about what they think of him personally, what they think about his morals and his ethics. But what they are open to rethinking, this data that Bloomberg has been looking into shows, is the way that he has failed to keep some of his promises. And in a state like Michigan, for example, this would be infrastructure, right? Where's this big infrastructure plan that President Trump promised? So it's finding little niche attacks like that on his record that work, and whether or not those are effective at peeling away some of Trump's softer support, I don't know. I'm not gonna venture a guess to that. But if anybody could do it and try it and has the money to find the right formula, it's Michael Bloomberg. And those numbers are just so staggering. I mean, $400 million in the next 2 to 3 months is that's a lot of ads.
My sick, twisted political mind was asking who is making money off of this, who is really placing those ad buys. Yes,
certainly
yes.
There are people who are. I mean, it's an overwhelming number. I mean, the Trump campaign, their take on this is they feel like people have made up their mind on President Trump. They don't anticipate actually trying to change any voters' minds. They're trying to find new Trump voters, people who didn't turn out last time around, who might have a favorable opinion of him, or someone who's just disenchanted with the whole political system and feels that perhaps, say, impeachment is unfair to the president. So, Eddie, I mean, this sort of ad blitz, like, is it going to be effective? I mean, perhaps just a relentless barrage, would that wear down the president's numbers?
I mean, it may. I wouldn't venture to suggest that it would, but I'm worried about all the money, Jeremy. I mean, when we talk about the problems with our democratic system, one of the first, issues that on the list is the role of big money in our politics. And whether you're on the left or the right, the role of big money affecting our decision making seems to be a problem. What do you make of Bloomberg spending this kind? I mean, think about it. The total amount of Obama's election in 2012, he's already close to reaching that figure.
Well, even just
now.
the change of political landscape, considering the spending totals from then to now.
So what do you, even though it's like, for me as a progressive, go after the guy, but I'm still worried about this kind of money in our politics.
Well, that's why Bloomberg and his team have been very careful to convey that they are out to defeat Trump. They are out for the Democratic nominee, whoever that may be. They would love that, of course, to be Michael Bloomberg, and they're going to spend a lot of money to make that happen.
Would they, though, or is this just more about making sure Donald Trump doesn't get reelected?
Oh, I think Michael Bloomberg would be very content being president of the United States. But what they've got to do, because there's a lot of resistance to him within the party, especially within the progressive wing, so what they've got to do is they've got to make it clear that they're team players and that they're spending money where it counts, not just to prop up somebody who is seen by a lot of progressives as too imperious and has been a Republican. So he's got that to overcome.
So let's mark it down. At 6:33 a.m., Jeremy Peters saying Michael Bloomberg will be very content to be president. That's the understatement of the morning.
Content.
We can stop with the competition. Coming up here on Morning Joe, the Pentagon says the U.S. military has carried out airstrikes in Iraq and Syria against an Iran-backed militia group. We'll bring in Admiral James Stavridis for his thoughts. That's up next. Stay tuned.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.